Right, we're going to continue our work with the Pythagorean theorem now and use it to solve more problems. So in our problem here, Bob the Builder has a triangular sandbox. So I don't know why he'd build a sandbox that's a triangle, but he did. Okay, and the lengths of the sides are 15 feet, 20 feet, and 22 feet. Now let's think about a right triangle. They want us to prove that it is not a right triangle. Well, let's think what we know about a right triangle from yesterday. A right triangle has two legs that form a right angle, and the two legs we said are always the shortest two sides. And a right triangle has a hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is across or opposite from the right angle, and it's always the longest side. So in my picture here, this sure looks like a right triangle. But the nice thing we learned about the Pythagorean theorem is that we can use math to prove when something is a right triangle or is not a right triangle, and they want us to prove that it's not. Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is the length of one side, squared for the Pythagorean theorem. B is the length of the other side. I'm sorry, A is a leg and B is a leg, so let's make sure that we use legs there. C is the hypotenuse, and we always square it for the Pythagorean theorem. So now would be a good time for you to pause the video and to see if these are equal or not. Well, let's see. 15 squared is 225. 20 squared is 400. 22 squared is 484. Let's see, I can do this math. I get 625 on this side and 484 on this side. Are those two equal? No way. So I just proved that this thing is not a right triangle. Mathematically, I was able to prove that because the two legs squared and added together do not equal the hypotenuse squared. Part B, they want us to fix Bob's problem. They want us to change one side in order to make a right triangle. Okay? Now, here's a hint for you. It's usually easiest to change the hypotenuse. Usually. And in this case, it will be. So I'm going to pause the video, let you do a little, thinking, and hopefully I'll give you a hint. Use the Pythagorean theorem to change just the hypotenuse. So the hint there is keep the legs and figure out what the hypotenuse should be to make this thing into a right triangle. So go ahead, take a minute and try it. All right, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The hint I gave you was keep the legs. So I'm going to keep 15 and square it. I'm going to keep 20 and square it. I don't know the hypotenuse yet, but I'm sure I'm going to figure it out. I know this is 225 and this is 400. C squared. I know this is 625. C squared. Well, the hypotenuse is not going to be 625 feet. Okay? The hypotenuse has to be longer than both 15 and 20, but I don't want c squared, I want c, so I'm going to find the square root of that, and the square root of 625 is 25. So I'm going to change 22 feet into 25 feet. Okay, prove it. Well, I used math right here. All this math that I did proves that 25 would work. Okay, the converse of the Pythagorean theorem is what we were just doing. We were just proving whether a triangle is a right triangle or is not a right triangle. So they want you to prove, yes, this thing is a right triangle, or no, it is not. Remember, the legs are the two shortest sides, the hypotenuse is the longest side. So, don't just answer yes or no, you give a math proof. Pause the video, try it, and come back. Alright, here we go. So, Pythagorean theorem, a squared, b squared, c squared. I use the two short sides for a and b. I'm going to square them. The hypotenuse, the longest side, is c. So here we go, 144 plus 225, 400. Add these two together. I get 369. Is that equal to 400? No. The question was, is this thing a right triangle? No, it's not. What's my proof? Well, the math I just did proves it. You're going to do the same thing on these two problems. Pause the video, come on back. So the two short sides, 7 squared, 8 squared, 113, square root of 113 squared. 49, 64. Now, some of you grab a calculator right away. You don't need a calculator for this. The square root of 113 squared, remember, square root and squared undo each other. So that just gives me 113. And when I add these two together, I do get 113. And 113 does equal 113. So yes, that will make a right triangle. Same thing here. The legs are the two short sides, squared. Hypotenuse is the long side, squared. Do my math. 25 plus 36, 100. 25 plus 36, 61. Does 61 equal 100? No way. No. I cannot make a right triangle with those three lengths. So, we're just using the Pythagorean theorem to prove if a triangle is a right triangle or not. So, got a few videos. I'll try to put these on my Google Classroom that explain pretty well. Some of them are kind of funny, some of them are more informative, but feel free to either type those in yourself or look for them on Google Classroom. All right, good luck.